Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 59 based on novel. So let's start. As time went by, Emperor Chuyu seemed to be much more low-key when assigning tasks to the 7 first-class marquises of the Emperor Chu lineage. In the blink of an eye, another half-century has passed. Finally, it's my turn to take priority again. With the help of the first-class Marquis order, Chuyu discovered the latest king-level task. Even the first-class marquises would only occasionally encounter king-level missions, and the 7 first-class marquises had to make their choices in order. The Guardian of the Phantom Fire World? Chuyu looked at this task with a fiery look in his eyes. The value of this task is even higher than that of the North Sea Beast Forest. My priority. Chuyu sneered and took the task upon himself without hesitation. After being taught a lesson last time, Chuyu kept a low profile for most of the century. At the critical moment, he took action again. He snatched the task, and the other 6 first-class marquises also knew it at the same time. Interesting. It seems that I underestimated this Chuyu. He is quite courageous. He actually dared to rob directly. He is really looking for death. Don't worry, Marquis Chuyuan will definitely be the first to take action. The other first-class dukes each had their own thoughts. Indeed, when Chuyuan who discovered that Chuyu dared to use the priority again and took away this king-level task first, he was immediately filled with nameless anger, burning his entire body and even his soul. A new chaos mirror should be able to endure its weakness. How dare you snatch it from me? Marquis Chuyuan was extremely angry. In his opinion, only if everyone is at the peak of the Chaos Realm would they be qualified to compete fairly. A newly promoted Chaos Realm cultivator, even if relying on an infinite divine body and the resources of a first-class Marquis to cultivate, there is still a huge gap in strength, and he is not qualified to compete with them. Emperor Chuyu. Marquis Chuyuan contacted Emperor Chuyu and sent a voice message directly. How dare you snatch a king-level mission? Why? Is it that a first-class monkey like me is not qualified to take the king-level mission? Chuyu responded calmly. He was not afraid of that madman because he could transmit the message over a long distance. It seems that the lesson I taught you last time was useless. Chu Yunho's voice came with murderous intent. I heard that you, Marquis Chuyuan, are very powerful. Among the 7 first-class marquises, you are the strongest? You have even fought against many peak Chaos Realm masters and have never met an opponent? Chuyu said with interest, I am in the mansion now. Come and kill me if you dare. The Marquis of Chuyuan led an expedition. Break into the mansion of a first-class marquis? Even the guest cave can mobilize a bit of the power of the Chu capital city. Chaos Realm transcendent existence is extremely fearful, and the power of the first-class marquisate to mobilize the city of Chu is even greater. Even some ancient gods and kings dare not be so reckless. You only dare to hide in the mansion, said Chuyuan who. You guessed it right. Before the protection period, I didn't have any mandatory missions. So I will stay in the Marquis mansion during the protection period. The Earth Emperor Chuyu responded leisurely, I will not step out of the Marquis mansion. What can you do to me? Marquis Chuyuan was furious. I will never be modest in any task. Chuyu said coldly, you and I are waiting for the same thing, and you want to suppress me? Wishful thinking. Very good, very good. Chu Yunho's face was distorted. Chuyu immediately cut off the communication and was too lazy to pay any more attention to this madman. In his own mansion, Chuyu was fearless. After Chuyu cut off the communication, he thought for a while and immediately contacted Luo Feng. Luo, he guessed, I have some conflicts with other first-class marquises. It's best for your disciples not to go out recently. Oh. Luo Feng, who was in seclusion, was relieved after receiving the message, I will tell them. Luo Feng gave instructions to Morosa, Moyu Qingyang, and Yuanzu. Chuyuan who was so angry that thunder and lightning flashed, instantly tearing apart the building he was in, and even the 2 maids outside the building were affected. The maids turned into ashes in a moment of fear and despair. Damn it, damn it. Chu Yuanho's eyes were completely filled with thunder. At this time, a figure appeared in the sky. It was Chu Jiho. Chu Yuan. Chu Jiho shouted, and it even shocked Chu Yuanho's soul, making him regain some clarity. He looked up and saw Chu Jiho landing. Brother, Marquis Chu Yuan gnashed his teeth. This Di Chuyu did it on purpose. He was deliberately provoking me. Yes, he is deliberately provoking you to make you go crazy again and violate the laws set by the ancestors. Then he will imprison you in the Netherfire world for 10,000 epochs. Chu Jiho scolded. Chu Yuanhu was startled and looked at his only trusted brother. You have suffered a lot to get to where you are today and become a first-class Marquis. Chu Jiho said, you are extremely talented and may even be able to transcend the Chaos Realm. At this moment, you must not fall into the other party's calculations. If you go crazy and act recklessly, you will only make Di Chuyu laugh at you. Chu Yuanhu nodded. When doing anything, you have to pay attention to some regulations. Just don't break the prohibitions. Chu Jiho was also helpless. This brother was originally quite rational, but as he practiced the inheritance of the Han Yuan secret method, his temper became more and more uncontrollable. Many members of the royal family of the ancient Thunder Kingdom have uncontrollable tempers, and when they explode, they will turn against the God Kings. My brother has inherited some characteristics of the royal family of the ancient Thunder Kingdom. Chu Jiho thought to himself, because he had two royal bloodlines, after reaching the Chaos Realm, Patriarch Emperor Chu personally led Chu Yuanhu in his practice, which led to Chu Yuanho's rapid progress. Find a few guests to discuss solutions together, said Chu Jiho. Okay. Chu Yuanhu nodded and restrained his temper. In a moment, Chu Jiho, Chu Yuanhu, and 3 guest officials gathered together. The 5 peak beings in the Chaos Realm discussed this matter. In fact, it was also to let Chu Yuanhu vent his anger. Chu Yuanho's temper would only make him crazier if he didn't vent his anger. This Di Chuyu said that he will stay in the Marquis mansion during the protection period and will not leave the mansion at all. Marquis Chu Yuan's ugly face covered with black hair was full of anger. I really want to smash him into a pulp. Well, if he doesn't go out, I don't believe that his wife and children won't go out. To attack the relatives of a first-class Marquis is equivalent to attacking a first-class Marquis. Marquis Chu Ji said on the side. I'm not going to kill them, I'm just going to ravage them. Black air currents were rising from Chu Yuanho's body. As long as they are not dead, it'll just be a minor punishment at most. It is taboo to attack family members. Chu Jiho shook his head. This is not okay, and that is not okay. What can we do? Chu Yuanhu was angry. The man in green robes at the side said with a smile, Lord Chu Yuan, don't worry. The reason why Di Chuyu refused to yield is that he wants to compete for resources. Then we can just attack those he cares about the most. Isn't his biggest helper now the guest official Luo He? There are no laws and regulations to limit the teaching of guest officials. Even if they are killed, they will not be held accountable. There are many guest officials in Yangfeng Ancient Country, and it is common for them to fight. Yangfeng Ancient Country cannot control it. Yes, the most powerful person around him is Luo He. Chu Yuanhu nodded, but Luo He is at the peak of the Chaos Realm, and he must have practiced many life-saving techniques. It is too difficult to kill him completely. He wasn't sure either. Although we cannot kill him completely, as long as we kill him once and take away his treasures, he will be extremely distressed. The man in green robe said. A strong man like him carries all the treasures he has accumulated over the years with him. If he dies once, all the treasures will be lost. Even if he can survive with the life-saving skills, I'm afraid it will be extremely painful. An old woman next to him also said. With our means, although we cannot completely kill him, it is not difficult to take his treasures, the old man with a golden hoop on his left arm said leisurely. Okay. Chu Yuanhu nodded. He hid himself and attacked his guest official to see if this guest official from Luo had dared to continue to help Di Chuyu. Luo Feng did give some instructions to Morosa, Wu Qingyang, and Yuanzu, so even if they went out, they would go out for a stroll as incarnations of divine power. Chu Capital, Thousand-star tower. I was suppressed by the original universe for most of the reincarnation era, and I carefully sensed the various states of life in the original universe and the operation of all things. Yuanzu sat in a small building in Qianqing Tower, drinking wine and looking at the living beings in the outside world. But the living beings and the operating rules of the origin continent are much more mysterious. After receiving a large amount of inheritance from the Xinjiang sect, the original ancestor absorbed the experience of many predecessors and began to integrate them into one to create an eternal level method of the virtual universe. When the method was initially successful, the original ancestor's strength increased greatly. Sometimes, reality is also illusion, and illusion is also reality. Yuanzu smiled. My method has made some initial progress, and it can form an illusory clone. This clone also has my real body. The Yuanzu is quite satisfied with 30% of the strength. I heard that even in the Chaos Realm, few people have the ability to clone themselves. Suddenly, a wave of movement descended. Yuanzu saw a figure in a green robe standing beside him. The invisible might had completely restrained Yuanzu. At this moment, the original ancestor only felt that the green-robed figure in front of him was like an endless world, and he could not resist at all. The gap was so huge that it was unbelievable. Are you Yuan? A green-robed figure looked at him. This was indeed the body of an eternal true God, not an incarnation of divine power. I wonder what instructions the great sage has for you. The original ancestor stood up and saluted. I heard that guest official Luo, he spent a lot of effort to bring you to Chu City for you. The green-robed figure said leisurely, send a message to Luo he quickly. Just tell him, if he doesn't come, you will die. The original ancestor was slightly startled. Yes, I'll send the message right away. Yuanzu still kept a low profile. Luo Feng in his cave. Luo Feng, who was in seclusion, was called out. Yuanzu, is there something urgent? Luo Feng looked at Yuanzu. Luo Feng, my virtual clone was in Qianqing Tower in the city and met Chu Yuanho's guest, Qianyu Daosheng. He asked you to go there immediately, otherwise he would kill me. Yuanzu said, but don't worry, he only caught my virtual clone. Virtual clone? Qianyu Daosheng couldn't recognize it. Luo Feng was surprised. He hadn't cultivated a clone yet. The inheritance of Xinjiang sect didn't have any secret clone methods, but Yuanzu could actually cultivate a virtual clone. Virtual clone is also a real body, but its strength is weaker than my original body. Yuanzu said. Luo Feng nodded slightly. If Yuanzu was detained, he would have a headache. Now Luo Feng was full of anger and started to attack the people around him. Luo Feng's killing intent was even stronger. You have to be careful. Since they let you go, there may be an ambush. Yuanzu reminded, don't worry. Luo Feng nodded, and then he took a step and traveled through the void and disappeared. Qianqing Building is just an ordinary business in Chu City, but today is the most special day since its establishment. 2 first-class marquises and 3 Chaos Realm guests are in Qianqing Building. The secrets of the Naluo River Great Sage are vague, and the cause and effect are converging. It is difficult to detect too much information about him. The old woman beside Chu Jiho said, he rose to power quickly, and even has very few relatives and friends. It is possible that he is the reincarnation of an old guy. When we take action later, we must go all out. We must not be careless when facing any peak Chaos Realm warrior, said the old man with a circle of golden hoops on his left arm. The green-robed man sneered and said, he is at the peak of the Chaos Realm. In terms of realm, he has already touched the threshold of the Divine King. But this Luo He is a person who specializes in cultivating the physical body. His moves are relatively stupid, which makes him easier to deal with. Like the origin of time, the origin of space, the origin of cause and effect, and so on, many avenues, if they can reach the peak of the Chaos Realm, are mysterious and unpredictable, and it is very difficult to capture or kill them. For example, Luo Feng was able to defeat Liu Yinhu before, but he couldn't keep him alive. If you specialize in cultivating the physical body is indeed indelible. But other aspects will generally appear weak. No matter who the opponent is, we must go all out. Chu Jiho said. It's better if his body is strong, so that I can fight more happily. The ugly black-haired Chu Yuan who said fiercely, I will hit him with 1,000 or 10,000 sticks and smash him into a pile of meat paste. Let's see how strong his body is. The other 4 peak Chaos Realm Masters had long been accustomed to Chu Yuanho's temper. In the royal family of the ancient country of Yangfeng, such wanton madness is rare. But among the royal family of the ancient country of Thunder, the vast majority of the royal strong men are like this, and only a few can remain calm and rational. Here they come. The old woman said, looking into the distance, she felt a little frightened. She had comprehended the origin of cause and effect, but she always felt that the secrets of Luohe were too vague, and she could see too little. Call. A man in black walked out of the void. He had a pair of dark golden horns on his forehead and a hint of coldness on his face. As soon as he walked out, he looked towards Qinqing Tower and immediately locked his eyes on the 2 first-class marquises and 3 Chaos Realm guests. Marquis Chu Yuan, Marquis Chu Ji, and 3 guest officials. Luo Feng looked at them. You are all people of high status. How dare you attack the eternal true God beside me? Guest official Luohe has been staying in the cave and has not left. We just used a little trick to invite him to come out and see us. Chu Jiho smiled and said in a cheerful voice, I believe that guest official Luohe also knows about some conflicts between us and Emperor Chuyu. I have been in seclusion since I came to Chudu, so I am not very clear about the details of the conflict between the first-class marquises. Luo Feng said. The 4 of Chu Jiho were a little surprised. As guests invited by Di Chuyu, they didn't even know about the conflict between Di Chuyu and them. It doesn't matter if you don't know. Chu Jiho continued, we will give you 2 choices. One is to stay away from Di Chuyu and never help him again. The second is to continue to help Di Chuyu and become our enemy. You choose one of the 2 paths. Selecting guest officials requires great caution. Di Chuyu was worried about encountering ungrateful people at the beginning, so he would rather choose someone who is trustworthy and has great potential and cultivate him slowly. When he first invited Luo Feng, Di Chuyu thought that Luo Feng was an eternal true god with an infinite divine body, and he also thought that he and Luo Feng would support each other and grow together. Di Chuyu had already prepared for the early stage of forbearance. But later on, Luo Feng's strength was beyond his expectation. Choose 2 paths? Luo Feng looked at them, smiling, you guys, are you worthy of me choosing? Marquis Chu Yuan, Marquis Chu Ji and the 3 guest officials all changed color immediately. Are we worthy? Marquis Chu Ji's eyes were filled with anger, and Marquis Chu Yuan, who already had a bad temper, was even more furious. Humph! The green-robed man snorted coldly, and the illusory clone of the original ancestor, who was bound and unable to move, was annihilated in an instant. At the same time, the sky around the 1,000 Stars Tower darkened. The old woman glanced at Luo Feng. Buzz tilde 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 tilde. Silently, a mental attack enveloped Luo Feng, obscuring Luo Feng's mind and blurring Luo Feng's perception. However, Luo Feng, who had reached the 2nd level of the Divine King's spiritual will and had the Lai Yuan technique at his disposal, was not fooled by this at all. Cause and effect blinded. Luo Feng sensed the opponent's tactics, and the opponent's spiritual will level just began to enter the threshold of the God King. But this mental attack is to blur all of one's perceptions. This is Sun Keqing, who is beside Chu Jiho. He is good at the law of cause and effect, and the origin of cause and effect is also mysterious and unpredictable. The old man with circles of golden hoops on his left arm looked at Luo Feng from afar, and the circles of golden hoops on his left arm disappeared out of thin air. 5 illusory golden hoops appeared out of thin air, enveloped Luo Feng, and instantly tightened the 5 golden hoops to restrain Luo Feng's body, containing multiple powers such as sealing, restraining, strangling, and suppressing. Even Luo he couldn't dodge my golden hoop. The old man sneered at this. His true body is doomed. Seeing the 5 golden hoops trapping Luo Feng, the man in green robe smiled, and a huge formation appeared faintly throughout the world. As the formation started to operate, countless chains of heaven and earth enveloped Luo Feng. Chu Jiho smiled. He won. When Luo he was trapped by the golden hoop, the ending was already determined. Is this your method? Luo Feng's voice suddenly sounded, and he exerted a little force. The basic components of his 5 transformation methods have all turned into yin and yang particle forms, and their power has skyrocketed. Among Luo Feng's 5 transformation methods, for our close combat. Galaxy Transformation Technique. When performing the Chaos Mirror Sword Technique, Luo Feng can now perform 23,000 Galaxy Sword Lights at the same time. Melee combat is just a burst of power which puts little burden on the mind. Luo Feng can simultaneously unleash the power of over 10 billion units of the transformation method, and the power is so strong that it is simply unbelievable. Bang bang! With one force, the 5 golden hoops shattered. The chains of heaven and earth naturally shattered when they touched the surface of Luo Feng's clothes. This scene made the 2 first-class marquises and 3 Chaos Realm guests stunned. My 5 golden hoops are broken? The old man couldn't believe it, looking at this scene. This is a weapon's secret treasure? Broken? He could accept the golden hoop being stretched. But it all shattered in an instant? When the green-robed man's many chains of heaven and earth condensed by the great formation of heaven and earth touched Luo Feng's clothes, they were naturally annihilated. He could clearly sense the incredible power that occurred when the chain he controlled touched Luo Feng's clothes. If you touch it, you will die. Run away quickly. He is not at the peak of Chaos Realm, he is at Chaos Transcendence. The man in green robe wanted to escape while transmitting the message. Boom tilde 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 tilde. With the 1,000 Stars Tower as the center, endless silver light emerged and enveloped it, forming a huge silver ball cage that had completely enveloped the entire 1,000 Stars Tower. Want to leave? Luo Feng took a step, and his figure shuttled through the void and appeared beside the man in green robe. His 5 fingers grabbed the man's body. In an instant, the area several feet around the man in green robe turned into chaos, and all spatial layers were annihilated. The terrifying power hit the membrane wall of the world. With one blow, the body of the great sage Qian Yu was completely annihilated, without even the ability to struggle. First, the 5 golden hoops collapsed, the chains of heaven and earth were annihilated, and then the great sage Qian Yu couldn't even withstand a single blow. This was a great stimulation to Chu Jiho and the others. Although the great sage Qian Yu's divine body was not very strong, as a practitioner of the world's origin, he was as powerful as Marquis Liu Yin, and both had strong ability to protect their lives. However, he was extremely vulnerable in front of Luo Feng. Boom, boom. Luo Feng's arms suddenly swelled up like pillars of heaven, and he grabbed the old man and the woman with both hands at the same time. Luo Feng naturally had detailed information about the 2 first-class marquises and the 3 Chaos Realm guests. In fact, the 3 Chaos Realm guests had the strongest ability to escape. So Luo Feng first dealt with the Qian Yu great sage who controlled the world, and then dealt with the other 2 guests. As for Chu Jiho, although Chu Yuanhu is strong, he is weak in escaping. Buzz! Luo Feng's hands penetrated the void and appeared out of thin air in front of the 2 Chaos Realm guests. My lord, let's go. The old woman grabbed Marquis Chu Ji and disappeared in an instant. The old man's body disintegrated and scattered, avoiding Luo Feng. When the old man's body appeared in the distance, he looked at the Milky Way cage in shock and anger. This cage cuts through the void, separating the inside from the outside. Luo Feng's silver light cage cuts through all the spatial layers, leaving only the world membrane intact. Call! The woman, along with Marquis Chu Ji, had already fled to the distant sky above the Marquis's mansion. Only then did she feel relieved and look towards the direction of Qinqing Tower from afar. My lord, I can only bring 1 Chaos Realm being with me to integrate the causal escape technique. The woman said, I can only help you escape. The Karma Escape technique, which allows one to merge oneself into the Karma line and escape, is a powerful escape technique that the woman finally developed after comprehending the origin of karma and gaining insight into the inheritance she received from the ancient country of Yangfeng. This method of escape, while carrying one's life with one's causal escape, would greatly increase the difficulty. Thanks to Zhang Keqing. Without Zhang Keqing, I would not have been able to escape. Xu Jiho looked at the distance in shock and anger. His eyes penetrated the space barrier and saw the Milky Way cage in the distance. That cage can isolate the inside and the outside. It is very difficult to escape. Ching Zun, is there any way to save Marquis Chu Yuan and others? Asked Marquis Chu Ji. No way. The woman shook her head. Not only is Luo his moves extremely fast, but he can still travel through the void even when the great sage Jian Yu controls the heaven and earth. If I use the causal escape method to sneak in, I'm afraid I'll be hit the moment I show up. My divine body is not as good as Brother Jian Yu's. If I get hit, my real body will die. He should be a chaos realm transcendence of the physical body. He can compete with the God King with his physical body. We cannot afford to provoke him. The woman was also a little scared. Xu Jiho looked grim. I didn't expect that only 2 of us would escape this time. As a first-class Marquis, Di Chuyu was naturally well informed about the news in Chu capital. He received the news of the battle in Qianxing Tower at the first moment. What? Marquis Chu Yuan and Marquis Chu Ji and the other 5 are against Brother Luo He. Di Chuyu was anxious. Didn't I tell Brother Luo He to be careful? How did we get ambushed again? This video will end here.